Hey, I'm Randy Unger, New York City's go-to film enthusiast. Every week I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Live from New York, it's Unger the Radar, and I'm your host, Randy Unger. And this is a very special episode of Unger the Radar because we are going to be talking about a very, very good movie that I'm just a big fan of. It's one of my favorites of the year. It's called Saturday Night. But before we get into that, I just want to welcome my distinguished panel of guest critics, Mr. Neil Rosen. Hello.
How you doing?
And Zach Marsh. How you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you guys. Thank you for taking the time tonight. And I think we should just get right into it. Saturday Night is just a wonderful film. It basically chronicles the hour or so leading up to the very first episode of Saturday Night Live from 1975. And it is directed by Jason Reitman. It is co-written by Gil Keenan. And it is just a wonderful film. It's a dramedy. It's real. It's based on real events, obviously, and it also has a very good cast. And it's an ensemble of great actors here portraying the actual Saturday Night Live cast members and Lorne Michaels and everybody else. And I think it's on my top 5, dare I say top 3 of the year. So, Neil, since you're here in the flesh, tell me, what did you think of Saturday Night?
Well, I would rather our colleague go first because I have a lot to say.
Okay.
And once I go through this, I don't want to suck the oxygen out of the room.
Fair.
So let Zach give you his opinion, and then
sure.
And then I have much to say about it.
Gotcha. Okay, Zach, your thoughts?
Well, first off, I do want to show this off. I was at a theater recently because I've been doing some film festival stuff, and they were giving out these lovely mini posters.
Oh my, lovely, beautiful.
Yeah, take a look at that.
Beautiful,
right?
And it's nice, and I love the white, perfect for autographs. Mm-hmm. So hold on to that, please. That's great.
Yeah, no, I got a couple of these. So, yeah.
Nice find.
Yes, no. So Saturday Night, I absolutely loved Saturday Night. Did not expect to, but I did. It was chaotic and hilarious and moving and just so much fun to watch.
Right.
It moves by at such a brisk pace, and it's done almost entirely in real time from 10 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. And I absolutely adored it. It reminded me, funny enough, of like Uncut Gems or like Birdman in the sense of like how chaotic it can be.
Right.
And that's a huge compliment. All the performances, I don't think there was a single bad performance I can think of. This might be my favorite Jason Reitman movie.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and rewatch like Juno or see Young Adult or Up in the Air. Absolutely loved it. I want to see it again.
I want to see it a few more times because it was that good. I think my favorite aspect, aside from the cast, is the energy. This movie it's a brisk pace all throughout. I think it's not even 2 hours. It's
an hour 49.
Or perfect length, and it just goes by way too quickly. I wanted a lot more of it. I wanted to learn more about the history of SNL. I know a bit, not a huge amount, but this movie really painted a great picture, and I think it was very educational too. So I can't say enough about this movie. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could say the same, but
how dare you?
Oh my.
I'm mixed on this movie, and I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
And this is going to take a few minutes.
Oh, do it.
Okay. I'm going to start telling you something that has nothing to do with this movie, but it's kind of I'm going to tell you this little story before I get into the thing, and you'll understand afterwards why I'm telling you this story.
Okay.
I really like the movie Awakenings with Robert De Niro and Robin Williams.
Classic, yeah.
Directed by Penny Marshall. And my wife is an occupational therapist. And I thought it was a really good movie. Mm-hmm. But she hated the movie. And the reason she hated the movie was because she just couldn't get past the fact that there's no way that if somebody was in a coma for 18 years that they would be able to just stand up once they got that dopamine and walk. It would take, weeks of physical therapy and there's no way he could talk. He'd have to have speech therapy and blah blah blah. So I'm saying it's just a movie. You know what I mean? You got to get past that. You know? Okay, put that thought aside. I am old enough, sad to say, that I was actually there when that happened. What you witnessed, the first episode of Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
I was an intern in college. I was like my freshman or sophomore year of college, and I was a kid, and I was there.
Okay.
And so much of what you see in this movie never happened.
Really?
Never happened. Milton Berle was nowhere near that studio on the first night. That show, there's a show that listeners to this podcast who haven't seen the movie that's done on the 6th floor. It's like one of these old-timey variety shows with like line dancing kick girls and stuff like that. That show never existed. There was no show that Milton Berle was in that was taking place. Forget about that show didn't take place on the 6th floor while SNL was going.
Okay.
There was no show. Milton Berle was nowhere near the building. That was completely.
And his scenes were among my favorite, actually.
Yeah, well, it's completely made up. But maybe I'm like that awakening story. Maybe I'm too close to the subject matter.
Okay.
I mean, I would look at stuff and I'm going, no, John Belushi did not, the character, by the way, I thought the performances were very good. I'll get into the positive in a minute.
Okay,
but
sure.
John Belushi was not roller in the ice skating rink at Rockefeller Center 20 minutes before they went on the air live.
Right.
He didn't sign his contract 3 seconds before the show went on the air. I could just go on and on and on and on.
It's just so surprising because I know Jason and Gil did extensive research.
Well, I interviewed Jason Reitman and I interviewed Gabriel LaBelle, both of them, about a week ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I actually brought some of this stuff up. And I could go on and on with so many of the inaccuracies that, I mean, they didn't, Johnny Carson did not call Lorne Michaels a half an hour before the show went on the air and chew him out, and say, I'm the big guy around here, and hang the Lorne. None of that stuff happened.
So what did Jason say?
Jason Reitman said that he interviewed like tons of people that are still alive that worked on that show. And everybody had a different version of what happened on that show. And he said that if I interviewed you about something that happened 50 years ago, and it was about you,
it's a little foggy.
That not foggy. He said that I'm sure that you would just have a different version of it to portray yourself in some particular light.
I see.
He goes, but it's not supposed to be an accurate, this is exactly what happened 90 minutes before the show went on. It's supposed to be an amalgam of my word, not his, but that whatever word he used, just to kind of get the flavor of the hectic nature of what was happening 90 minutes before airtime. If you want to know what was really happening the 90 minutes before airtime, which happens 90 minutes before every airtime of a live episode of Saturday Night Live, they do a dress rehearsal, and then they go into the writer's room with the actors and the writers, and they decide what skits to cut. The dress rehearsal is always about 45 minutes to an hour longer than the actual show, and they cut stuff.
So if this were a fictional story about a fake variety show coming to air, not SNL, but a fictional
Let's say it was Fridays, which I know nothing about, which
Yeah.
was a show that competed with Saturday Night Live, which I was actually went to a taping of that once in L.A. But yes, but I know nothing about
But
that
if
show.
if this movie wasn't based on real events,
Right.
would that have been better for you?
It would have been better because I was too close to the subject matter, and
Right.
I guess that didn't happen. And Billy Crystal and
They were all there. Yeah.
Valerie Bromfeld didn't make a pact saying 4 minutes or we're walking. Billy Crystal was cut from the show, and it just happened.
And
so
Jim
many,
Henson and Andy Kaufman, was that?
Well, Andy Kaufman, that song that Garrett Morris, that actor who plays Garrett Morris, I want to, get me a shotgun and kill all the whiteys I see.
Yeah.
Like that actually cropped up in an episode many episodes later, but he didn't just do that in a rehearse. It's a movie, and they took a lot of liberties in the movie.
Gotcha.
And Jason Reitman said it's just supposed to take lots of things that happened and just make an entertaining movie and just show you the chaotic nature. That was the chaotic nature of this program.
Like Birdman, kind of.
But it did not.
That is sad.
It did not go down to 1 minute before my friend, buddy of mine, Robert Wall, who played Dave Johnson.
I interviewed him, actually, very nice guy.
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine. He didn't. didn't go down to like the last 5. Are we going on the air 5 seconds before? Do we roll the Johnny Carson Tonight
Right.
Show? Stale
That was all
episode.
for dramatic purposes,
Right.
obviously.
So okay. So from my point of view,
Yeah.
the inaccuracy went. Now on the positive side, I
Yes.
thought all the performances were great.
Right.
Really great. The guy who played John Belushi, great. The guy who played Lorne Michaels, Gabriel LaBelle, who also
Yeah.
played the young Steven Spielberg in
Right,
in
the
that
Fablemans, yeah.
Right. The Fablemans. Everybody
Yeah,
was
Shake
was
Shack.
was good.
Sorry, was that
Don't forget the movie Shake Shack that came out earlier this year.
Shake Shack? I sadly missed that one.
Well,
It's on Prime. It's worth watching.
Okay.
all the Garrett Morris guy, John Baptiste, who played Billy Preston.
Yeah.
I forgot the actor's name. but-
Dylan O'Brien, who played Dan Aykroyd.
yeah, and the guy who played both.
Yeah,
plays cousin.
Nicholas Braun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's it, cousin? What on Succession? Cousin.
I don't know the character's name.
Cousin
I just know the
something.
actor's name.
Also, I
Nick
thought
Braun.
Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase was pretty decent.
Yeah, I thought all the performances were great,
right.
and having spent so much time in Studio 8H, not just when I was an intern, but I went back there and I still work in Rockefeller Center. I mean, they really did an amazing job of recreating the way that the way that studio looks.
Right.
Another inaccuracy, just by the way, they the home base when they come down the stairs.
Yeah, the main stage.
Yeah, the first episode didn't have that. It just had that brick center thing, and there was no set around there, and they didn't put the last brick in like a minute and a half before they went on the
So
air.
were you like a page?
No, I was an intern.
You're an
I
intern.
worked for Channel 4 News. And nobody, you were able to go in there the first like 8 or 9 episodes. The show nobody was really watching the show. It was not a hit.
Right.
And I remember going in there and just talking to all these people. And I was talking to Jane Curtin, and forget the show, she was all excited that she was up for some kind of like Avon or something commercial. She was all excited. I might get the commercial. She didn't even have the commercial. She did an audition. I mean, that's how nobody these people were.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
wow.
saying?
Yeah.
And then the show took off, and Chevy Chase was the breakout star. You know what I mean? But these people were nobody, and you could just walk in and hang out. And I used to talk to them, and
That's cool.
And then in later years, I went and I worked there during the Eddie Murphy years, and now I'm there on the Today Show.
Now, why weren't you included in the movie here?
Well, nobody really knew I was there. I mean, I was just kind of hanging around. I wasn't
That would have
performing.
been kind of cool to have an outsider's viewpoint. There.
I would have given you a whole different story on what went on.
Probably.
But I also found the camera work. It was not a steady cam. It was a handheld camera, and it was giving me a headache.
Okay.
So I don't know. But on the positive side, I
Right.
mean, I'd say it's not accurate. But as a movie just as a movie,
Right.
It's okay. I'm not in love with the movie that
I really thought it was just a lot of fun, and again, I think the performances were the highlight, bar none.
The performances were great. It just kind of like annoyed me that it was
Yeah.
just totally inaccurate.
That's
But I spoke to
unfortunate.
both of them.
Yeah.
Gabriel.
That's a question.
yeah, Zach, of course.
So
I told you it was a long story. I told you I was going to suck all the
It's okay.
oxygen out of the room.
It's all right.
I get what you're saying, and you know what? Something I can relate to or compare this to, and based on what you're saying, is The Disaster Artist, the A24 James Franco Tommy Wiseau
Love
movie.
it, hilarious, yeah.
And yeah,
That's
that
a great.
book.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
See, I love the book. The movie I was mixed on because they changed so much from the book. They just like took out a lot of Tommy Wiseau being an absolute. They took out his backstory and they just made it this generic. Get up by your bootstraps. We're going to make a movie, hoo-ha, kind of thing. So
I thought he came across as an in the movie.
Of course.
I mean,
a little bit. In the book, he's even more of an.
See, this is why I never like. There's a lot of movies that are based on books, and I never. Like this is something. I mean, I was there, so it's a whole at the SNL. But I avoid reading the book before the movie if they're making it on a famous because I want to approach the material virginally. I want to look at it
That's fair.
and say like I want to be surprised.
Right.
I don't want to go like because if you read the book, well. That's a nonfiction book that you were reading, The Disaster Artist. But if I'm reading like a novel that's made into a movie, I'm picturing the characters a certain way in my mind, and then when I actually see it, it's like, yeah, they could have done the casting better, or like, yeah, that wasn't the way it was in the book, and I'm very critical. So I'd rather just judge it as a movie. And you guys were able to judge Saturday Night as a movie,
Right.
and I'm judging it as like. I was there. That's not true. That didn't, and that's what I'm doing through the whole damn movie. And so maybe I'm just too like my wife's story with Awakenings. Maybe I'm too close to this.
I think so.
To be objective.
So the question I wanted to ask was, if there was a card at the beginning of the movie that said, "This isn't an entirely nonfiction.
Right.
This isn't entirely factual. This is an amalgamation
disclaimer,
of lots
yeah.
of things that happened." If there was a card like that came up before the movie started,
Yeah,
would
Would that have changed things?
Probably would have been happy.
Would that have improved the experience?
Yes, it probably would have improved
No.
the experience. I would say it would.
I'll
Interesting.
add that onto a torrented copy. Oh, sorry, a Arg Me Hardy copy that I'll get at some point.
Yeah.
I asked Gabriel LaBelle, who played Lorne Michaels, where he did his research, and he said that I should, and I did it. He said I should go to YouTube and the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder, like the week before the show went on the air. Lorne Michaels and the entire cast did an interview and sat down with Tom Snyder. It's only like 4.5 minutes, or maybe it was a commercial break. Maybe there were 2 4.5-minute segments. But these people hadn't gone on the air yet, and Tom Snyder goes to Lorne Michaels. So what is your show about? Which is actually a line that keeps cropping up in the
Right.
movie. What's your show about?
Doesn't even
what I
know,
mean?
yeah.
But he gives you an answer. He says we've got the Muppets, and we've got a new comic, Billy Crystal, and we've got sketches, and we've got
It's a lot.
another comedian, Valerie Bromfeld. Yeah, I mean, and then Chevy Chase kind of dominated the conversation on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. But he goes, I watched how Lorne did that. And
Right.
That's kind of where I got the basis of it.
Gotcha.
So, it was a long interview.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Both of them, I mean,
So I just want to really quickly touch on the history of SNL, some of our favorite, eras within the 50 years. I'll just say that probably my favorite era was probably the late 80s into the early 90s.
The Phil Hartman. John
Yeah,
Lovitz,
I love that.
That's my second favorite.
So funny, so fresh, and always interesting. And I remember catching reruns of those on the E! channel back when I was a kid. And yeah, I know most of them basically went on to star in their own comedies. And we're actually going to talk about a couple of the SNL-inspired movies in a minute. But Neil, what is your first favorite era of SNL?
Maybe my judgment. Maybe I have to go back and watch the episodes, but
Okay.
I really liked the first cast.
Okay.
Not necessarily the first season where they were kind of like finding their footing.
Right.
But I'd go starting middle of season 2 to maybe season 3 and 4.
Okay.
But really close second is the one that you picked. Is that I think
Yes.
Phil Hartman was like a comedian
Genius, yeah. That voice,
just
the
a kid.
caveman lawyer.
I'm just
He's so good.
But so many
Yeah.
sketches. I mean, that whole in John Lovitz,
Yeah,
that's
the
thing.
ticket.
It was just that was great,
Yeah.
and I also like a lot of the Eddie Murphy stuff.
Oh, sure.
But I hate the last. I think the
Uh.
show has become terrible. It's almost unwatchable. I mean, once in a blue moon, there'll be a skit that I'll go that's not
Yeah.
bad. My wife insists on watching the show,
Okay.
so I'm subjected on Saturday nights to watching this thing. The only way to get through it is I got to record it
Okay.
and then just fly through a horrible skit.
I think it lost steam basically when it entered the 21st century, to be honest with you.
Not funny.
There's a select few skits. I agree with you. You got to pick and
John
choose.
Mulaney-
What is your favorite era of SNL, Zach?
So it's funny you mentioned that you thought it dropped off during the 21st century.
Yeah.
I agree. However, I think that purely based on nostalgia, the era that had Andy Samberg, Bill Hader, Jason Sudeikis, Fred Armisen, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, that's my era.
Okay.
That's my favorite shit. Like the SNL digital shorts. I've been just a little bit of a side tangent. I've been listening to the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast
Okay.
a lot recently, and they've been going through each digital short that they've done over the years, episode by episode. And I've been rewatching a lot of those digital shorts, and they still hold up, for me at least. They're still really funny, very they're almost like pioneers of modern day internet humor.
Okay.
So I guess just both from a nostalgic point of view and from my comedic sensibilities, that's my era.
Okay. Fair enough.
Was the Adam Sandler era during that Phil Hartman, John Lovitz?
Yeah, I think Adam Sandler left in the mid '90s to pursue movies.
He was fired.
But that was I know, but that was the Phil Hartman
Yeah,
era, right?
Hartman was, I think, there up until the mid to late '90s.
Yeah, I love that. That was a great era.
So good.
That's I was at the show when William Shatner hosted that famous skit about get a life.
Cool.
I was at the dress rehearsal of that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I've been to Saturday Night Live more than.
Oh.
What happens is if you work in the building, the bands perform on. They rehearse on Thursday night.
Okay.
So people that worked in the building, you could just sit up on the ninth floor and just watch the bands rehearse. And
Nice.
they didn't. This is pre 9/11. They didn't stop you, and I saw
Wow.
so many unbelievable bands like 30 feet away from me. I mean, just like it's like amazing. It's like a private concert. Yeah.
All right, so we got our favorite SNL eras, which is great. A little trip down memory lane. I just wanted to touch base a little bit on the SNL-inspired movies. First of which, Blues Brothers, 1980, which is fantastic. We did a show on John Landis last year, basically talking about all of his films, and fantastic director. Blues Brothers was great. Real quick, guys, what were your thoughts on that one? Zach?
Oh, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Neil?
Fun movie.
All right. We got Wayne's World. Obviously, that's a fun one. And the sequel, Coneheads was decent. I think it came out in '93. I think it would have benefited if it came out maybe a little earlier.
Yeah, I thought I thought it was better as a
sketch?
It's sketch.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, so keep going. It's Pat. I actually never saw, which I remember when I was a kid. I saw the
I never saw
trailer,
it. I never saw
and
it.
it just looked so ridiculous. And I never really thought the skit was that funny, but that's my opinion. Stuart Saves His Family is another one
saw
I
that.
didn't see. I didn't really like that.
Smalley.
Yeah, it's called Stuart Saves His Family, and it's Al Franken.
Al Franken.
Yeah, and in '98 we had Blues Brothers 2000, which was sadly forgettable. A Night at the Roxbury, that's a fun one actually. I think that basically launched Will Ferrell's movie career in a
I
way.
think Elf is what really made him.
Well, true, yeah, that
Really put him in all the.
that made him a superstar for sure.
Night at the Roxbury didn't perform that well. At the
Yeah, I could see that.
Came away.
Yeah, kind of have a cult following.
It's like Christmas perennial. Do you have a favorite movie that starred somebody that got their start on Saturday Night Live?
Well, I think if you know me, Ghostbusters is my #1 film. I love everything
Really?
about it,
Okay.
everything that's
Well, it's on your
inspired it.
computer there, the
Yeah,
little-
good guess, right?
Okay.
You know, I'm part of the charity group, the New York City Ghostbusters. We do events all the time. We march in parades. We set up our slime lab. So you could say Ghostbusters is part of me. It's in my DNA. And yes, it's not an official SNL movie, but it is definitely inspired by the works of the people involved.
What would you say, Zach? I'm sorry, I'm like
Oh,
I can't
no.
get
So
away
this
from the
isn't
hosting
an
aspect.
That's quite all
movie
right.
at all.
What's that?
This isn't an SNL movie at all, but it does have an actor from SNL, Punch Drunk Love. I
Oh.
adore that.
Interesting.
Great
P.T.
film.
Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
go with
Yeah.
either Groundhog Day,
Oh,
Bill Murray, or maybe Trading Places
Classic.
with Eddie Murphy
Another-
and Dan Aykroyd.
and John Landis directed.
Yeah, and so maybe one of those two.
Well, here's one that did not get a lot of love. And
or the
still doesn't.
Water Boy, Strictly for Laughs.
That's funny too. Here's one from left field: Memoirs of an Invisible Man, starring Chevy Chase.
I got quoted on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your quote?
My quote, Reader's Digest, if you believe that, when that used to publish, they picked up my quote. First, it was quoted in the ad, and then Reader's Digest thought it was very funny, so
Okay.
they printed my quote.
you
I
remember
said,
it?
"The Invisible Man is a must see."
Oh, you liked it.
Get it? You get the joke?
Oh, there it is. So, did you like it or not? Though?
I did.
You did.
I said it's a must-see.
Because a lot of.
But that was
critics
my
didn't.
pun. The Invisible Man
No,
is a
no,
must
I
see.
like it, but a lot of critics did not.
No, I
like
liked it.
when came. But
Chevy Chase.
I love it. It's
Yeah. I liked it.
It's John Carpenter. It's ILM doing the visual effects.
I liked it.
It was great. All right. So what else we got? We got The Ladies' Man in 2000, which was.
I never saw the movie, just the skit.
I saw it. It had a small
Sketch.
part. Actually, it starred Tim Meadows, and it had a small part from Will Ferrell. Actually, it's pretty bad. I saw it in theaters too. It was just instantly terrible. MacGruber, which actually is based on some of the funnier skits to come out of the last decade or
I
so.
love MacGruber.
Yeah.
The skits and the movie.
Yeah, really funny.
I never saw the movie, just the skits.
It's Will Forte. He's very good in that.
Yeah, directed by Jorma Taccone, part of The Lonely Island.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know. Also, there's a movie on here called
Please Don't Destroy.
The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. I've never heard of this one. Apparently,
It
it's
just came out last year on Peacock.
Okay.
Those guys are like in the new, like the current seasons of SNL. They're kind of like the successors to The Lonely Island. Conan O'Brien's in the movie.
What is it?
it's like a
I've heard it's solid.
it's a comedy produced by Judd Apatow.
This was a sketch on Saturday Night Live that they made into a
Heard of
movie?
This one.
So it's a series. It's like how it had an SNL digital short. Now it's called Please Don't Destroy.
Oh, those are those three guys that pretend to be writers, or maybe they are writers?
No, that's it.
Are they real writers, or they're just a comedy
Yeah, they
troupe?
are. But they like mainly do those skits, the way that Andy Samberg did the Lonely Island skits.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm going to check it out. It sounds intriguing now. Also, guys, I just wanted to end on this, just talk about a film that came out the year I was born, 1985, Spies Like Us, directed by John Landis, another film that did not get a lot of love. It's got Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd as two bumbling government executives who get thrown into this plot of intrigue in the Soviet Union and Pakistan. And it's kind of a throwback to the Bing Crosby, Bob Hope films of the 40s, 50s. And I think it's a lot of fun. I've loved it since childhood. And I think this was the quintessential team-up of an SNL cast. So you've got Chase and Aykroyd. And, I mean, again, it didn't get a lot of love from critics, but I love it personally.
I've never seen it.
You never seen it?
I saw it as an adult.
Yeah.
You saw it as a little kid.
I did, yeah.
The fact that I saw it 40 years ago and I don't remember that much about it other than like it was acceptable.
Right.
It says, like it was okay.
Yeah, I could see that.
So should I watch Spies Like Us?
If you want.
Okay.
If you want.
All right, go ahead.
So, guys, we're almost about out of time here, and I just want to do some plugs. Zach, are there any projects you're working on now that you can talk about?
Currently not working on anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find my stuff, you can look my name up, Zachary S. Marsh, Zachary with an H, Marsh like marshmallow.
Mm-hmm.
Look that up on YouTube, and you can find a lot of my editing work. Yeah, that's kind of what I have to plug.
Lovely. Thank you, sir. Mr. Rosen, how are you? I know you have a lot. Go ahead.
My show, Talking Pictures with Neil Rosen. You can follow me on Twitter at Neil Rosen Apples, and I put links to every show up there, or you can watch it. It airs on PBS All Arts. You can go there. You could also see my stuff on QTV on a show called Arts in the City.
Okay.
And if you follow me on Twitter at Neil Rosen Apples, I do the Today Show also. I Weekend Today in New York. I post everything on Twitter now called X. So if you follow me on Twitter or X, all the links to everything that I do is there. Or you can just go to YouTube and put in Talking Pictures with Neil Rosen, and you can watch any episode of the show you want.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
can follow me on Twitter at Zach S. Marsh.
Awesome, awesome. And as for me, you can catch new episodes of Unger the Radar on Slam Radio through SiriusXM every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, the video version of the podcast airs on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and that's every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Feel free to subscribe to the Unger the Radar YouTube channel. And I want to thank my wonderful guests tonight, Neil and Zach. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm Randy Unger. This has been Unger the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.